Hey sisters, we're here for another episode of the Say It Sister podcast. Real conversations between real women, heartfelt, honest, and with care.
I am Karen Harris-Kelly, and together with Lucy Barkas, we are here this week to talk about something we have stopped caring about, inspired by the brilliant Milani Sanders, creator of the We Don't Care Club. Please check out her socials. She is giving us all permission to stop caring about the silly things that really don't matter.
Yes, and if you're wondering why we're dressed like this, well, we're doing it in honor of Milani's dress code. And she's, truthful, and she shows up with a bit of humor. And let's be truthful, we don't care about wearing two pairs of glasses on our head and losing them along the way. And, if we aren't wearing them, we're going to lose them. And Milani popped up on my For You page over on TikTok, and I instantly loved her energy and her no nonsense talking with, like I said, a bit of humour. And yeah, it's a bit of comedy in a time of our life that can feel pretty heavy. So yeah, she talks about menopause, she talks about midlife and women's low tolerance of the BS and the rules. How did you find it, Karen?
I had a great conversation with Helen House, who I work with, and she said, "Have you heard about this woman?" And she said to me, she's got her bra sort of like hanging on the back of the door as she's sort of doing these announcements. And it's like, don't we all live like that? Why do we have to feel that need to sort of move away? The stuff like the washing on the side of the radiator if we're doing like a little bit of a post. It's like, who actually cares? And it makes us more real anyway. So she told me about her, and I love the fact that she's there in the US broadcasting about all the things that we don't care about anymore in midlife. And it could be anything from ironing, cooking, doing the mundane, boring stuff that we have to do as women, or we're told that we should be doing. And what made me really laugh is the comments and the engagement from other women who are adding their own versions of it. So it's like this kind of constant dialogue of women showing up and saying, I don't care about this and I don't care about that. And I think what a brilliant thing, how brilliant to make it so, because it's some of the stuff that we care about, let's be honest, is quite ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I'm all about outing the ridiculous and just getting back into what we do really care about.
Yeah, so we thought, why not do our own little bit of We Don't Care Club episode? Embracing a bit of our authenticity, letting go of a bit of judgment. I don't think I've ever appeared in public dressed like this before, but hey ho, I'm still me, and Karen, you're still you. So let's get to it. So we are going to have a bit of a an homage here. Karen's got her tick list of things that she's going to tick off the list as we go through. I'm going to set a timer right at the end to tell us when we've had enough of it. Yeah, Bad Bitch Bible, love that. For those on the who can see the video, that's just classic. Yeah, because we don't care. We can swear. It's fine.
And
Um,
I'm having a default here because, oh yeah, I've got my pen. So she does something like this.
yeah.
Let's go.
Well, let's go then. So I'm going to start the first one of the We Don't Care announcements. We don't care if we embrace winter and stay in our PJs for as long as we possibly can. Who says we need to get dressed? And there go my glasses.
We do not care if we forgot your question from a second ago.
We don't care if we're not feeling the vibe and leave the party early.
We do not care if we hate small talk. Get to the point or get away from me.
We do not care if the house is not Pinterest worthy. It's none of your business.
We do not care if we are boring you when we talk about our periods. Period.
We do not care if wearing yoga pants all day and we haven't actually done yoga in years.
We do not care if our boundaries upset you. They are staying up.
We do not care if we've totally lost our train of thought. We might go off on a tangent and talk about something far more interesting instead.
We do not care if we cannot compartmentalise or even say it. We are still angry.
We do not care if we stand out in front of the cupboard wondering why we are there. Let's claim it as a moment of mindfulness. And there's the timer. Have you got one more that you can squeeze in What don't you care about today, Karen?
We don't care if you don't like us.
Woohoo!
Hallelujah. Amen. That is the end of all public announcements for today.
And on that note, I'm going to take these off because already I've lost two pairs of glasses.
Me too.
And honestly, I will care if I if I end up standing on them
Oh,
later because
it's
they
actually quite
cost a
hard to wear
fortune.
that turban, to be honest. It's actually not very comfortable.
There we go, back to normal cells again. But it's not at the end of the conversation because now we're going to talk a little bit about things that we really wish we didn't care about. We want to banish, but we still need a little bit of work to do. Um, so, Karen, what are those things that you think when you catch yourself caring about, you're like, why am I still caring about this?
I think when I said I don't care what people think about me, that's not true. There's a
Yeah, we've
part of
got to be
me that's
honest.
like, it doesn't matter, it's not important. And like, and then there's the other part of me that's like, I still care. So
Yeah.
that's a big one for me. And I think if I didn't care as much, I think life would be much easier. So there's that part of it as well, and I know that perimenopause is definitely edging me towards where I want to be, just because I don't have the energy to be bothered. So that's where I'm at. What about you?
Well, just to talk about that at the moment, there's these fabulous women in New York who are I don't know whether they know each other or whether it's just their thing, but they've been captured on the streets wearing these most outrageous, flamboyant, beautiful, eclectic outfits. And they're all in like their 70s and 80s, just going about their daily business, just being fabulous. And I just like, I want that energy. I want to get to that stage where I literally can go out in my joggers and, a hoodie if I want to, but also show up really being fabulous, not the toned down version of what will people think. So I just want to say I'm with you on that one. The one that I wanted to bring is the thing that I know I shouldn't care about, um, but I do. It's my weight. Now, some days I don't care what my dress size is, because, I've been big, I've been tiny, I've been huge and pregnant, I've been everything in between. And actually, it doesn't change who I am. And but I can't help it. When I've lost a few pounds, I feel much better about myself. I feel a lot more confident, even though I know the weight of my worth is not attached to my dress size. Um, and sometimes, yeah, I really resent my meno belly.
Yeah, I've got one too, and I decided to embrace that. But like as women, we tend to then say this is when we tend to say as women to each other, "Yeah, but you look great as you are, and you're amazing as you are," and but if we're still feeling something, we're still feeling something, and I try not to do that these days because I just think it's almost like when somebody's going through something, just let them have their response to it. So I hear you, is what I want to say, and I identify with that as well. And we live in a society where you can now get pens that stop you from eating and lose loads of weight. So I also want to celebrate your choice in not taking that road and just being with, the way that your body is today.
Well, on a bad day, I consider it. And
Yeah.
then on a good day, I'm like, no, Lucy, don't be ridiculous. That is not the path for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, those thoughts still come in because it's so conditioned into us. It's going to take a while to unlearn those. But I've never felt more confident in my body ever, but
And I think
still I
I,
care.
I think the lie that needs to be discussed rather than, lose weight, don't lose weight, is more about if I am thin, then I'll be happy. If I am
Yeah.
thin, then I'll be, I don't think we're going for popularity so much anymore, but maybe we are considering what I just said. Maybe that's more hidden underneath the surface. But it definitely was like as a girl growing up, I used to look at really thin people because that wasn't me because I was curvaceous
And let's
and
face it, the
think,
90s, it was all about the waifs, wasn't it?
yeah, exactly, and think if I was thin, I'd be popular, I'd be happy, and I wouldn't feel bad about myself. I now know that's a total lie, but it's easy to get sucked back up into the
Mm.
machine because when you see it now, I'm seeing a lot of people around me that I'm going, my God, they're super thin now. Like they've lost a lot of weight, and I'm talking a lot, and now they're so thin. It's like so dramatic, and it's hard to not think, oh, that half a stone. I could kind of do that quite easily, and then what I mean? But then I
Yeah.
just go, you're just going back into the old, like that's not who I am anymore. And um, but we have to coach ourselves, don't we?
Absolutely. Give ourselves a good talking to from time to time because actually there's times when I've gone out and I've let all my curves be on show and I've worn like a fantastic outfit, and yeah, I might be on the size 14 side of myself at that stage, and people have said, "Oh my God, you look fabulous," or "Look at you rock," and actually, it's my confidence that is the
Absolutely.
attractive piece. If I'd walked in wearing that outfit and not felt amazing, I probably wouldn't have got the compliments. So I think it's confidence that is actually the real beauty that shines through. So that's what I'm going to kind of like try and commit to this year, is working on that. I don't care, but just acknowledging that actually I still do a little bit. And another one that links to that actually is my changing face and body. Now, everything goes south. The more years you live on this planet, gravity does its business. The collagen fades away, and yeah, you get saggy bits, you get wrinkles. My face isn't as pert as it once was, and although you know I can look in the mirror and actually see, with my smile and my eyes glistening, that wow, some days I feel so radiant and beautiful. But then other times I really miss that pert 22-year-old. And I notice the wrinkles and a new line, or how some photos I look old. Thank God for makeup, because some days I really need it. But I'm really loath to try to use the filters on social media, because it doesn't look like me when I do it. I don't want to be one of those fake ones. So I still care, because I do try the filters out, so I must care. But I don't want to care about it anymore.
Yeah, and oh, it's really hard to not go into coaching. As I'm sitting here, I'm like, wanting to keep us on the brief of what we're here to talk about,
There is a good point though. Just ask the question. I won't answer it, but for the listeners, they might need to hear the question you're going to ask.
well, my thing is like, did you look at yourself as that 22-year-old and look in the mirror and see the real beautiful you, or did you see something that you didn't have?
Yeah, good question.
Because it's like when
Whilst
we look
everyone,
back at photographs and we go, what the hell? Like for me, I would always zone in on like one spot.
yeah,
It's like, I remember that because I had really
I
good
didn't feel
skin.
beautiful at 22.
No,
It's
neither
only
did
now I
I.
look back and I'm like, wow.
For me to feel beautiful, I had to have certain clothes on and wear like have my. I couldn't. The idea of leaving the house with no hair and with my makeup not on. I mean, I'm from the north. We don't do that in the north. You know what I mean? You go to if you're going out to put the bins out. Not that I do that, but anyway, you got to put your lipstick on, and it's that kind of thing. And I don't do that anymore. And I'm really grateful to myself for being like, you don't need to have loads of makeup on. Now I like makeup and I look better with makeup on, but it doesn't have the same. I totally leave the house without hair
Yeah,
and makeup, looking really in my sort of dog walking gear now, and I just think brilliant,
it's
like.
liberating, isn't it?
And I like a lipstick, so I'm not saying that, but what my point is, I think when we look back at photographs, we always go, I look really good then, and I didn't know it, and it's like that awakening that we get from going back in time. Now, in 10 years, we're going to look back at ourselves and go,
Mm,
we look really good in that. Look how great we were. Look how vibrant we were. Look how confident we were. And we're not going to, any of the other stuff, we're not going to know it or see it or maybe remember it. But that's my point. My point is, if we could just be in ourselves now in the way that we'll see ourselves as we're older, then that's a real gift. So my encouragement is to, remind for women who are sort of getting down on themselves for physicality stuff, remember in 10 years' time, you're going to think you look amazing, or even 5 years' time.
yeah, that is such a good point. And when you see me in my dog walking gear, I probably look a bit strange because nothing matches and it's for comfort. But I'm probably looking beautiful because I'm radiating. There's nothing more joyful feeling for me than actually being out in nature, seeing my dogs happy. And so many people stop and talk to me and say hello, because I've obviously got this energy that's
Yeah.
attracting them in, even though I might look like a bag of crap. I'm not going to be on any, like, modeling magazine, but I don't care. But it's those are things, like especially showing up on social media and recording ourselves like this. It comes in, the self doubt, and just I would never come on without makeup.
Yeah.
But also, just to speak to that a little bit, sometimes the putting on the makeup and dressing up is almost part of the process of building the confidence and the self-worth. So it is a bit of a ritual sometimes as well.
Yeah.
Um, but another one, and this one I think came into my mind because the last time we were recording, you were talking about your roots. And I made me realize that sometimes, I didn't even notice your roots. Didn't even register on my radar, but it was something that came up for you. And then I thought, actually, yeah, sometimes I don't care about that, but sometimes it comes up for me too. And so I don't actually care most of the time if my hair needs a refresh. Sometimes I just don't bother styling it for days and days, and I just let it be. I kind of like embrace this inner wild woman, and I love it. But then other times I really do worry, and I make sure I put a hat on if I
Yeah.
haven't styled it because I don't want to be seen in public.
Yeah.
And that kind of jars me a little bit. What about you? Because you were the one that inspired me with
Oh,
that.
roots are a big thing for me, because my hair is now white underneath. And
Ah, I
I
would
asked my
never know.
hairdresser. Yeah, I said to my hairdresser the other day, I said, "What colour's my hair now?" And he went, "Well, from here it'll be white." I was like, "Okay."
Wow.
He said, "And then you'll have salt and pepper underneath." And I was like, "Yeah, it's not going to happen." So there was that sort of awareness of yeah, you know what? The root thing I can live with a little bit, but what I really struggle with is the my brain is now doing a brain crazy loop thing on me because I've gone into something else. So a full on perimenopause moment in this moment in time. I have to apologise for myself because it's just really awkward. Um, it's the fact that my hair is thinning. So I
Mm,
have more. So now I'm like, I can cover up the roots, but I can't cover up the fact that my hair's not as thick as it used to be. And I had a glorious mane, and that is hard. But I seem to have gotten over that in the last 6 months. Maybe I've just kind of gone, it's okay. Like I notice it, but does anyone else? So I think we're always in the space of going, and maybe if there's more like, maybe if it gets even thinner, then I'll have to deal with that piece. But where it is right now, I'm okay with. So it's a weird thing.
and that's what I mean. It comes and goes, and that's why it's like we think we don't care, and then suddenly we realise, oh, actually we do care. And I had long hair for years and years, and obviously we all used to straighten it for 2 decades. And then when I noticed my hair getting really thin and actually just it just looked rubbish, so I cut it right off and started with the curly girl method, which because naturally my hair has got a bit of a curl to it. And I'm so glad I did. I've gone like back to my natural style. But yeah, I wear it shorter now because it thins. And I always wondered
Yeah.
why do older women always end up cutting their hair?
Hello.
Well, that's the reason. Yeah, I get it now. I'm embracing it.
It's funny because I lived with a constant bob until like 13 years ago, and then I was like, I'm growing it, and I think I'll probably go back to the bob at some point. I don't know how old I'm going to be. There'll become a point, I think, when I'm going, actually, volume's more important than length,
Yeah.
and I'll go with the bob again because bobs look great on me. So I'm like not scared of the bob, and actually, I'm sure when I do it, I'll be like, yay, why didn't I do it sooner? Um, you know, and I have to sort of name these nails because before I've had so much like mind chatter about the nails because I haven't had a chance to go and get them properly taken off. And it's like either do I walk my dog or do I get these things taken off so I can be like the same shade? And the dog is winning at the moment, and I've had meetings and stuff and I've been going to meetings and I'm like, I use my hands a lot and I'm like, oh my God, this looks so bad. Now, I would say to me, no one cares about that. But actually, when I see other women with nails like that, I notice it. So
Yeah.
I think there is something that we're talking about here is we have like a standard and a code that maybe we don't care about it, but we notice it. And I think in
Yeah.
the noticing, there can be some shame. And it seems like such a super. We're talking about things like, hair and roots and makeup and weight and nails. And I don't think any man would go onto a podcast and have this kind of conversation about what they care about that they shouldn't care about anymore. I just don't think that would be given. I don't think
No.
they'd even consider it. Like they're not considering like their manscape or their awful toenails and the fact that they're walking around in the summer wearing Crocs with disgusting feet. They're not on
Yeah.
podcasts talking about it, but here we are. And for me, I'm always like, this is important because it's about what we're learning as we do it, and what we're learning as we do it is that people still expect women to look hair done, things have changed. Nails. I'm now going to drop my microphone. I'm having a total
Yeah.
defunct on this one today, but it's real life. And then we go talk about it, but I think in the talking about it, we go, oh,
Why
that's,
do we care? And who told us we had to care? And yeah, I find it fascinating that um, even until recently, there was this with airlines and things like that. It might even be with some airlines that they say women must wear makeup. They must have heels of a certain height. Their
yeah,
skirt must be a certain thing. I'm like, you know, part of me is I get it because it's like a standardization uniform, but on the other side of it's like, well, how come they're setting the rules about what is acceptable?
yeah,
Because they're not making the men wear makeup or wear, shoes of a certain height. And so that my inner rebel wants to almost like go the opposite way. And yeah, sometimes I'm like, sod it, I'm not going to shave my legs because I can't be bothered and nobody's going to see them. And so who cares if you do? But then there's the other side of me that if I see somebody with hairy legs, I can't help but notice. So
yeah,
it's complex for us women. And I think it's, we have been bombarded our whole lives with what a woman should look like, how we should behave. And it's always related to our worthiness. And there was something I was reading yesterday about in my area. There's the mock fairs, which is basically in the 17th, 18th century. Servants would go out and try and tout for business and things like that. And somebody had wrote a note at the end of it on this post, and it basically said, well, the options for girls, according to the great grandmother, was always, well, if you're purty, you'll get married, and if you're not, you'll work in service. And so it absolutely, your appearance
yeah,
determines your worth in life. And it was shocking, but actually, I remember even my grandparents making comments about my appearance, about my
yeah.
worthiness or my lack of worthiness. So it's so inbuilt into us. So I don't think I am going to ever stop caring completely, but I hope I am that outrageous 70-year-old who literally wears what she likes, does what she likes, says what she likes. So let's embrace it. So let's go on to things that we genuinely care about. And the one thing that I just want to say to this is, as I have found myself caring less about certain things, it's given me much more space to focus on the things that I really do care about. So, it's like the small stuff was taking so much of space that I couldn't focus on the big things. So let's hear some of your perspectives on the things about really caring about stuff.
I, more than ever in my life, care about my values, my decency, human decency, more than ever. It's incredible to me. Like, I think last year was such a pivotal year in that so many things happened in the world that made me stop and almost like shudder. And then there was the nervous system element to that of going, oh my God, I didn't think, like we've been quite lucky that we've not lived in many wars that we, not like the First and Second World War that our, ancestors will have lived through. But actually, we've lived through other things. And it is really, really scary. And I think when you know the truth of what's going on in the world and how even women are being suppressed and women's voices are being suppressed, is I can't turn away from that and go, well, I've got a podcast, so I'm all right. So it's in this podcast for me has become so fundamental because I've realised that I can go on and talk about whatever I want to talk about with you. And we don't have to agree on everything, but we still have that space. And for me, that is vital because women can listen to this podcast and have half an hour with us and perhaps hopefully resonate and go, that's exactly how I feel about it. So, we're broadcasting and we're broadcasting what we believe is right and true. And so the decency piece and the having principles matters to me. Like, I fight for that stuff. I fight for that stuff. And so that I care deeply, deeply about, as you know, and I know you do too. Tell me yours.
So I wrote a list. So just like I did on the first things I don't care about, And some of them just came out, really quite whimsical, but actually I care deeply. So I also put basic human decency as my number one.
Yeah.
Smashing the patriarchy. Now, I don't actually like the word smashing, but I want to evolve into something different, something more equal, something
Yeah.
kinder. So yeah, no smashing, but definitely replacing the patriarchy. Allowing my inner rebel to come out a little bit more. That's something I'm really passionate about. And stop being like this good, compliant girl and everything that we've just been talking about, basically. Peace, love, and kindness and unity. They are just at my core. They're my values. My own self-worth is something I really care about.
Mm.
And then helping other people to find theirs too.
Yeah.
Leadership, I just hang out in that space all the time. I'm really fascinated. I care about it. We need good leaders
Can I
across
add
all of
something in
our,
on that as
yeah.
well? That I think is so, so important because I think we still, when we say leadership, people still think of the person at the top,
Oh, yeah, I
and
know.
leadership as an everyday choice and actually skill set. Whether it doesn't matter what you're doing, it doesn't matter whether you're
Mm,
driving people to school on the school bus. It doesn't matter. You are still leading. You are still in that driving seat, and you still have a responsibility. And you in the way you show up, or the way you engage with those. And I'm going to use the bus driver now. With the people getting on the bus, it's going to have an
yes,
impact on them. And we all have a choice of how we are with other people. So
yes.
I feel like that for me, and as a
It's not
mother,
about being the top boss, the
it's
top.
not.
Now
No.
that is really important because how they show up influences so many of the other people's lives. So absolutely, I still hang out at that, but actually, it's from that same principle
Yeah.
of the bus driver, or you just have it driving your kids to school. How you show up with integrity, um, thinking about the bigger picture, but also about the self, the inner and outer leader. All of that, it applies whether you are just one small, humble person living your own life or whether you are a leader of nations.
Yeah.
Um, that's leadership to me. It doesn't matter about the title. And it's something, like I say, I hang out with all the time.
Yeah.
I want to understand it. I want to create better leaders and actually more observant or thoughtful followers. So people aren't just following people
Yeah.
unintentionally. I want better followership, better leadership. And then the other things that I really genuinely care about is my kids. They're always on my mind. I'm always worrying, wanting, willing them to be brilliant. My family, my pets, nature, and making sure that nature is thriving and basically changing the world. It's not a big list, but to me, they are my big things. So
Yeah. I mean,
expand on that for me.
they're super important, aren't they? And I can see you in all of those, and I think that's
Yeah, it's big
important.
world and little world stuff, isn't it?
Absolutely. And for me, there's something about, inclusion of elders as well that
Yeah.
comes through because when I'm now searching for things, I'm wanting to hear the elder voices. I'm wanting to, like really sort of like listen to their wisdom because I feel like it's not here yet, but like that will be my next life stage that I go into.
Yeah.
And I want to do it in such an honouring way. And I also want to honour, the wisdom of those that often get, ignored and suppressed in our society. And it's such a waste. So that one's a really, really important one for me. And honouring my own parents as well within that and our relationship and, you know, bringing them in. I mean, they're in my life anyway, but, just consciously bringing them in because some of the
Yes.
conversations that we're having right now and that we need to have more of are really scary. It's like end of life stuff, and um, my dad said something to me the other day, and I said, "Dad, I don't really want to talk about this, but I know I have to." And
Yeah.
he was like, "Yeah, we need to talk about it." And I just go, ugh. But I also want to make sure that I spend as much time listening to him, and like whilst that's the heavy stuff, there's also a lot of heart stuff in that, and just being there and being present. My mum and dad are still very, very active, but they are in their late 70s now. So it's an awareness piece that I have and wanting to be.
There's definitely an honouring there, and I've spent many many years of my life rebelling against my parents, as in, you don't know my life, I
Yeah,
know better. Who do you think you are to tell me because I'd still got that inner child who was being told off in my mind. Whereas now, like even my best friend says, "Oh my God, you're sounding more and more like your mother." She says, but in a good way.
Yeah.
And I'm really honouring that because actually now I'm at that stage where I'm passing on the wisdom that I heard from my grandmother that she would probably heard from her grandmother, and it's just yeah, it's that passage of time, and I really honour it. And so that has opened up a whole new relationship with me and my parents. And yes, their
And
age
there's
and
something
their
about
health is a worry.
there's something about the healing that we have to do. We always talk about this, don't we? But always comes back to the same point that at this point in time, we have to heal like the past versions of ourselves
Yeah.
and do the work that we need. And when we do that work, as hard as it can be, and it can take quite a long time, but if we continue and continue, then it heals ourselves, but it heals the relationship with our parents. And so when we step back out into the field with them, into the field of the relationship, we are the person we are today, not the 13-year-old that was angry or
Yeah.
the 20-year-old that whatever. We're just not that. We're not coming from that place. We're coming from mature adult Karen and Lucy, and so we are in the relationship from a different place, and it changes things. It changes the dynamics, and it's less of the sort of push pull, but more of the just, um, like they're trying to have a relationship with us, and we're sort of like pulling away a little bit maybe, and actually we can just step in to the center and be like, yeah, what do you want to talk about?
And that is something worth caring about. Because and again, I'm very conscious that, do you know what, in 10 years, 20 years time, the likelihood is they won't be here. And so I deeply care about every moment, every interaction, but it also brings me full cycle to looking at my own children. And I often joke about it and I say, look, you'll go through a stage where you hate me or you
Yeah,
blame me for everything in your life. Like, but it's natural. But when that happens, just know that I warned you about it, because that's part of almost like healing that generational wound, isn't it?
yeah,
And so, yeah, so I want to, I'm already planning for the next 10 years for my kids to throw some resentment at me, and it's going to hurt, but I care so much, I'm going to face it head on.
yeah.
Um, so what about your health and well-being? Because again, we're women of a certain age, and at some point it hits us that we're not, we are just mortal beings.
I know. And I think for me, this is going to be a big year for me for health, because what I'm seeing, and I think we know this stuff, like everything we talk about, like instinctively, there's an awareness that we already have inside us. But actually, when we go in and do the work, it feels even more solid. And so I have just had this really big awareness at the back end of the year around my health and really painful periods and endometriosis, which I have, the fibroid that I have, and the fact that I am spending 2.5 weeks of every month in a lot of pain. And it's been like that. It used to be 1 week, but it's more intense now. Now I'm in this final stage of perimenopause, and just saying that actually that's not okay anymore for me. And it's not acceptable for me to even just ignore it and pretend it's not happening. So, I'm not a pill popping type person anymore. I used to be, but I don't really do that anymore because I just think I don't know why I don't do it, but I just don't. And but I'm like, how am I going to live this out? Like realistically, like because it affects my whole center of my body or my hip, my back. Like it's really, really bad. So I've started talking about it much more and really starting to look at the pain and what the pain wants to say. And we did some work, didn't we, together around our womb space and going into the womb, because ultimately that's the place where we find our natural abundance, our natural creativity, and our way of sourcing and resourcing comes from this place. The brain has its role, but actually the womb space is often a space of like women are not connected to it unless they're trying to get pregnant or they're growing a baby. That's when we go into that place. So we spend the rest of our life alien from a part of us that's really, really unique, that only only women have the womb, and it's seen as a place of like pain and hardship in a way. And actually I know from the work I've already done that's not true, but there's still pain. So there's work to be done around that, and also releasing some of that really hardwired old conditioning, the way I've responded to it. There'll be a medical element to it as well. and I'm just investigating now the different ways. And I don't want to override my pain. I don't want to ignore what's going on in my own body. That's got me into huge problems in the past. I've healed all that. So now I'm in this new chapter and I'm like, and I know the body's information. I know that feelings are information. I know that everything that's going on inside me is directing me, and it's not coming from my head. I mean, that's playing a role, but it's not. And so that includes the pain. So, yeah, I'm just in this new space of opening, because for me, my health is linked to my wealth, and it's also linked to my worth. Do I consider myself to be worthy enough to actually demand that, keep asking for it, say that's not good enough, find alternative ways? This is going to be a big journey for me. I know it is, because it's conversations that I'm having with more and more women as well in the coaching space, where we're talking about the things like endometriosis in a way that never came through before. It just didn't get discussed. So
No,
I think
it
we're
was
all waking
another
up.
secret.
It was another secret, and periods, another secret. Go away and do it on your own, and I don't, I just know I haven't.
I've
That's
got to say,
is something that I
my
care about, but I also don't care about the hiding anymore. I'm like, let's not just let's not do it.
yeah, me and my girls just talk about all of that stuff completely naturally, and we're all in sync of our cycles. Um, and it was only a few months ago, and we were talking about it at home, and my mum said, "Oh, we don't talk about stuff like that." And I said, "We do in this house
Yeah,
because I'd never want my daughters to be silenced and to feel shamed, or that's not something we talk about, because actually half of the year they're experiencing something related to their periods,
yeah,
and there's no shame in it. It is what it is, and thankfully, well, the majority of the time we have normal periods, and it doesn't feel that bad. But my best friend at the moment, same age as you, and she's basically been bleeding for 6 weeks constantly, and it's like a volcano. And she's obviously going for all the tests
yeah,
and and scans and stuff. But I said it's maybe the final raw before you actually hit menopause, and she was just like, it would just be such a relief. Because again, this is why it's so important for women to talk about.
yeah,
Because I was like, there's nothing wrong with you. You do need to go to the doctors. You need
yeah,
to take this seriously. But equally, she's been carrying this whilst on aeroplanes, or whilst trying to get on with her job, do meetings and things like that, terrified that she's going to leak, but equally experiencing this pain. And for her to be able to say it would be such a relief,
yeah.
and that really hit me, because like our health, what women go through, we're just willing it to stop. And I think it gets to that stage in our midlife where we're like, okay, we're ready now, and it's almost like an acceptance.
Yeah, and if we could just stop the periods and then not have, and then still have the estrogen, and the like, if we could have
Yes,
all the
we'd like that.
vitality bits, then I think most women would be like fantastic. But oh, unfortunately, there's the other bits that come with it.
Yeah.
So I think that's the bit that there's also that the mourning that goes on there, isn't there? That is like, it means I'm going to need to get these sort of hormones from somewhere else, because
Yeah.
I'm lacking in them. And that's a whole
Or
separate.
go cold turkey and ride it out, which many women do. It's
Yeah.
tough, but but anyway, I want to invite you to pose a task or a reflection for our listeners based on our theme for today.
Well, our theme is write two lists. Write a list of what you don't care about anymore. You might have a list in the middle that says, I don't want to care about this, but I do still care. Based on our conversation, you'll get the insights from that. And then you're going to write another list into the I do care. These are like this is my go to, this is where my energy is going. So you may have two lists, you may have three lists. We'll just put some thought around that, and let us know. Let us know what you find. Let us know. Send us messages. Send us, join us on Instagram and TikTok, and let us know how you're getting on. And of course, if you've got any questions, we're always here for that. We do want to invite listeners to go check out, the woman who's inspired us today, which is Milani Sanders. Check out the We Don't Care Club, which is just hilarious, known for its humanity, hilarity, and honesty. And come back next time when we'll be talking about more great things. And until then, keep saying it, sister.